Okay, we're here to talk about Silo on Apple TV, Season 3, Episode 8, titled Grey Goo, written by Jenny Armit Strand and directed by Amber Templemore. In the before times, Daniel and Helen are shown that the silo diggers up close and then taken to a farm to learn more about the project. Stinson and Thurmond are digging 50 silos to help repopulate the Earth when the inevitable end of the world comes. Stinson believes it will come from nanotechnology after Iran detonated a nanobomb in DC. Daniel and Helen are asked to stay and be part of the project, appealing to Helen's journalistic instincts and Daniel's infrastructure background, but both decide to leave. Charlotte, however, is also offered a role and she decides to stay. In Silo 17, Lucas is recovering from a drone attack where he was shot. Patrick and Lucas meet Jimmy and the survivors and explain to them they need to find the pipe to learn how it was sealed. There, they find the body of Jimmy's mother, who apparently welded herself into the pipe room because there was so much poison and she didn't want to affect their silo. In Silo 18, Robert Sims is thrown in jail for opposing Camille. Juliet and Shirley's plan to cap their own poison pipe is thwarted, and Juliet is thrown in prison with Robert. Billings and Hank arrest Mike for killing Orla Kent after getting information from Harwood and Knox's father. Okay, we have to start in the before times because we have I think a pretty significant revelation here as to why, or at least the beginnings of a reason of why these silos are being built. So we've been waiting for this for a long time. So what we know at this point, what is your impression of, the reasons why this is built? How did this land? This was, I think, a long time coming. So we were hoping for this all season.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't know if it's what I was hoping for quite. So, good. It's moved forward. We've got a little bit more of an answer. And the first thing I got to thinking about is why it felt somewhat unsatisfying for me. And I guess the biggest reason I would point to ultimately is it's almost like, all right, so yes, I want to know why they built the silos. And I want to know why people ended up living in the silos. But even there, on that second part, not quite there yet. I think the thing I realized, though, is that for some time, what I want to know more is why life in the silos is the way that it is, if you follow me, right? Like why the cleanings and all of that kind of nonsense. You know what I mean?
I think there are three important questions, and you have touched on all three just there. And that we have, I think that we have answered the first one. I think we have answered, and I don't even think we've answered completely the first one yet as
Yeah.
to why they're building these. I think that I put the quote in here from what Per Stinson says to them that he believes nanotechnology is the most dangerous weapon, but he says something will happen is inevitable. So it's not like something has happened. They're preparing for something to happen. And so there is that then leads, of course, into what pushes them into the silo eventually, right? And so that we don't know, and that
Yeah.
we are unaware of. We're just sort of now just prepping at this point, is what it seems like. And so I'm sort of with you that this was less than completely satisfying because all these answers I think tie together, and we don't have really the complete answer to one. Now we still need two and three.
Right. And I think at one point even Senator Thurmond says that the threat is imminent and it's not. It's like she's not using the word correctly, but I guess a lot of
Yeah,
real world politicians also use the word incorrectly.
right.
But because that would mean like it's gonna happen right now, sort of thing. And like, I mean, what feels pressing is okay, well, if like Iran in the story has the nano weapons, and set off a bomb with the nano weapons in
Mm.
DC, maybe that threat does feel significantly closer. All the other stuff that's mentioned, though, would be real world equivalent, I think, in terms of climate collapse, possibility of nuclear war. I did, by the way, look a little bit into nano weapons,
Okay.
and don't worry, people are working on it. That was like, as far as
I,
I can tell, they don't actually like have what they seem to have in the story. But like, if you read about it a little bit, you're like, why are we doing this? You know what I
yeah.
mean?
This is, as you say, this is a real thing. There are some. Won't go into any detail, but there are some similarities between what was discussed here as to why and what the reasons are in the books as to why these silos have come about. But to your point, I think so. They believe, or they have confirmed, that Iran set off a nano bomb of sorts in DC.
Yeah.
So it seems like the retaliation to that was, which we'll have to talk about. So Charlotte's mission was sort of a decoy, but the real main thing was to put this nuclear bomb underground and blow up their capabilities to do that. Okay, so if that's the case, then even if a retaliation is imminent for that latest action, they're years away from building these silos. It's not going to matter if something's happening as imminent because they're not ready to go in there.
Yeah, right. There's also that. And it does seem like Charlotte and her squad, they were almost doing an experiment, like they were almost sacrificing them. And look,
Exactly.
there are several things here I do want to point to as questions. One of which is, how did she survive? It
Yeah.
seems like she's the only one who survived, and she seems to have been relatively unscathed
Yeah.
physically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Um, yeah, she's got, PTSD and all of that, but
Yeah.
how did she even survive when it seems like everyone else died and the last we saw was her plane seemingly about to crash? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, what exactly happened there?
And I thought about that.
Um,
I don't have a good answer there other than we need her later. That's
yeah, I
really
don't
what
know
it
if we're
comes
going
down
to
to.
get a good answer there other than just the narrative. Don't worry about it too much.
Yeah.
Hey, she survived. People survive. People survive all kinds of stuff. What was the show where someone was like, babies can live in a collapsed building? Oh, it was Paradise. That's it.
Yeah.
Babies don't eat food. It's an earthquake. Um, Sorry, that was an aside. But yeah, so I don't know if we're going to get an answer to that question at all. It does get what's made me more interesting to talk about briefly is it did get me thinking about how, okay, so Per Stenson, who's like the richest man in the world in this story,
Hmm.
looks at the threats and says, look, it's inevitable that something's going to happen. And the nanotechnology in particular, because it's going to become cheap and easy enough to produce that it could just be like, some random whack job in his garage.
Yeah.
Um, and he's gotten Senator Thurman and whoever else involved in this. And then, I guess it makes some sense that they want to keep it secret until it's done and all of that. You've got the line from Senator Thurman about then they'll leak it in a few years,
Hmm.
in direct conflict to her saying it's an imminent threat. Anyway,
Yeah.
and we're going to call it Stenson's Folly and all of that. So, like, if we take that all at face value,
Hmm.
one question, of course, is I don't know if we should,
Yeah.
but if we do, then I still wonder, well, what comes in between this and people actually going into the silos? And I'm not sure that we can jump to the conclusion, even that when people finally really do go into the silos for real,
Yeah.
it's the same powers in the world who are in charge of the project. You follow me there? Like, I don't know if we can say, well, it's still Per Stenson behind it when we
Yeah.
get to that point.
I
Um,
I follow you 100%. And again, based on some things that I anticipate and some things that I have read, I think this this show largely hinges on how that works.
okay.
I think that I was, uh, as you might have been, or it sounds like you were, slightly disappointed in this reveal. I don't think this is everything. But what happens between this reveal and we have to put people into the silo? Clearly, we're not just putting 100 people in there as workers for the next 5 years, right? Like they talk about, we have to populate these things with the thousands of people to get them self-sufficient and running. So what happens between this reveal and that? I think will go a long way in determining. Maybe it should just sort of truncate that to will largely depend on how I feel about this season because
Yeah.
that's the crux of this story.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that makes sense to me what you're saying. Um, and Per Stenson here lists AI as one of the threats. One of the things that I started thinking about is how I double checked when the books were written.
Hmm.
And of course, the show doesn't have to exactly follow the books or anything like that. But, when how he was writing these books some 15 years ago, it's like 2011 to
Yeah.
2013. Well, that's a little bit different than now when you've got this stuff in the
Yeah.
world that people are calling AI all over the place with the large
Yeah.
language models and all of that. But then that, of course, has to influence the thinking of the writers on the show.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess I don't necessarily have a place I want to take that right now. But it's something I got thinking about in terms of as a viewer of the show
Yeah.
and the maybe potential like ways that this has shifted in my own mind. Whereas, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, I might have watched a sci-fi story with AI in it.
Hmm.
What's a good example? Like, I don't know. Let's go further back. We go further back. Go to 2001: A Space Odyssey, right?
Yeah.
Like, if any of this feels like a spoiler, that movie is older than I am. You got Hal and all of
Yeah.
that, right? And so it's been there for a long time as this kind of intriguing question about the possibility of kind of like true artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I was thinking about this more related to what's going on in the silo with the algorithm. The way in which I, as a viewer, am thinking of the algorithm as ChatGPT
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something like the possibility, and for me, that's a very negative thing to say. The
Hmm.
possibility that it actually is, um, some super intelligent being is not on the table really, and I'm starting to wonder like maybe it should be more. Maybe I should be re-engaging with the history of that concept more in terms of its history and science fiction. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's a great point to think about that timeline because I don't know a little bit about this. Where I work, we do some work on this, but yeah, 15, 20 years ago, nanotechnology was was the science fiction topic du jour, right? It's like, oh my gosh, can you believe this thing that we have developed and what we can do on this scale? And that sort of in these last 15 years has been surpassed by the idea of AI and how we have incorporated that into literally everything, and how clearly some aspect of that has been incorporated into this show, not just by what Stinson says, but otherwise, and then the algorithm and other things. And so there's this sense of does this land maybe like it would in a different time? And will we evolve from what they're talking about with nanotechnology into more of an exploration of AI as we get more into, what's happening in the silo? So, I think you're right.
Yeah. So I wonder about that, and that's where, you know, even clues about how Per Stenson feels about AI, more
Yeah.
clues I could go for if we get them by the time the season's over, even if it's just more clues,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we'll shift to talking about what happens in Silo 18 and Silo 17 and so on in this episode in more detail here in a moment. But, this is one of the things that occurred to me as a theory putting this all together after this week is, well, what if, however it happened exactly, this whole structure with the silos just got set up and it's fully under the control of the computers?
Hmm.
And like, there's no living human being who like even remembers about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, maybe the rest of the world's fine. Maybe it's not. But like, what if there's no one out there
Yeah.
beyond this space in Georgia who even knows what the hell's going on down there?
Yeah. And we
Um,
have heard earlier in the seasons, timelines like, oh, more than 300 years old or things like
yeah.
that. So it's like, how could there be, right? So yeah, what was established and how are they self-sufficient and how are they run? That's a very important question, I think.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. And I hope we get a significant amount more on that front before the season's over. I'm not holding my breath because there's only 2 episodes left, but
Yeah.
we'll see
Yeah.
if they
I,
decide to
I
move fast and give us a lot of information about the season finale.
I have told you that I wondered after the past couple of episodes, will the story of this silo coming online stretch into next season? I did not, when the season started, anticipate that would be the case. Now, I'm less confident in that. I still do have a prediction of how this season will end, like the last shot of what this season is.
Yeah.
But a lot would have to happen that has not happened yet for it to get there.
We'll see, man. And this is the thing, going to the storyline with our friends in the silos. If this is 350 years later, I guess it is. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. I don't know. I don't know if I should drop that as a question at some point, but I'm not gonna until I'm like proven.
Don't drop any questions. Don't drop
Yeah.
any questions.
Well, I did have to drop the question about why it looked like it was nice outside when the power went out in season one. I did kind of
Yeah, yeah,
drop
yeah.
that one. Um, but I would love it if the show didn't. You know what I mean? Like if somehow,
Yeah.
sometime in the future, they were like, "Oh, here's the explanation for that," but I doubt it. Um, what was I about to say? Oh, so I mean, again, thinking about how far are we going to get by the end of season three in this storyline, I'm starting to get worried that it's going to be the end of season three when they finally manage to disable the safeguard and not before, which would mean that episode nine is going to be what, like, I don't want to be too pejorative, but we're just going to spin our wheels a bit more throughout
Yeah.
episode nine. Maybe I'm wrong about that, though. Maybe it happens in episode nine and then something bigger happens in episode 10.
Yeah.
We'll see.
What you're saying there, spinning wheels a little bit. I mean, maybe is a nice. I don't want to move us along too fast, but nice segue into to Silo 18 because I had that feeling again when it was in Silo 18 when it was okay. We got to come up with a plan. Then we send Shirley out. Shirley's gone the wrong direction. Let me go catch her. Let me send her back the right direction. Oh, we're caught. Let's put her in jail. Just unnecessary roadblocks to getting to what we were really trying to do here.
Yeah, I felt that way a lot in this episode, unfortunately. And, particularly coming on the heels of last week's episode, well, episode seven, it would be right, where it was like, oh, yeah, man, we're cooking, we got
Hmm.
momentum and all of that kind of stuff. To be, even if there was some narrative bumpiness there that we talked about a bit, to be now, in particular with I'm sorry, in Silo 18, I did feel like it was kind of spinning its wheels
Yeah.
because, oh, you can't actually resolve it yet. Along the way, though, they put up roadblocks to whatever that ultimate resolution might be. So maybe we shouldn't be too dismissive because maybe some of this will matter, right? Um, they've gotten the information from Silo 17. Juliet realizes, as you alluded to, that the silos are actually like, I don't know people can't see the hand motion I'm making. They're askew. They're slightly rotated or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
And so Shirley's going to go to the wrong place. I don't know. Maybe that'll matter. Beyond that, I mean, look, some of the stuff is cool and interesting in its own right. The conversations about how you would set up the structure with the thought that the
yeah.
silo in the middle, and then
I thought that was interesting. Yeah,
the
yeah.
pipes going out to sets of seven. I too want to note and not totally drop this question. Bernard said something in season two about there actually being 51 silos.
Hmm.
I feel like everything we've heard since then suggests 50,
Hmm.
including that diagram.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
One in the
yeah,
middle, seven lines going out to seven sets of seven. That's 50, not
yeah,
51, wherever it's worth. So again, I don't know.
yeah. That will come up. I'm very confident. We'll learn
Okay.
about that. So
Um, just
to what we were talking about. I mean, this is hyperbole certainly, but I was almost offended. The last scene of this episode is, the group after Juliet's thrown in prison. Carla and Bernard and Shirley and all of them are together, and they're talking about, oh, well, Juliet would want us to do something. Juliet would want us to have a plan and do it. Well, that's exactly what the end of the last episode was, to come up with the plan. We're going to do it. It's okay. Well, we still need to execute these things, whether Juliet's with us or not. It's just, maybe more so than any other episode, at least in the Silo 18 perspective, I thought there was some, okay, we're running in place here.
Yeah, a little bit, because then they circle back to the plan they'd been thinking about pursuing last week,
Yeah.
which we talked about not exactly making logistical sense necessarily.
Let's just blow up judicial. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but thankfully, we're not going to have to worry too much about that because there's no chance they're going to blow up Judicial when that would mean killing Juliet,
And Robert. Yeah, exactly.
even if they should. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, even if they should make that kind of decision with regard to their trolley problem or whatever, they're not gonna. Um, Still wondering about that though. The problem is to return to that. As best I can understand, and we talked this through last week, that plan would have been just kind of haphazardly setting off a big explosion and then believing you could get in there in suits in order to seal off the poison.
Yeah.
The plan that they land on after they get the information from Silo 17 is like much more rational,
Yep.
where Shirley is going, she actually wants to do a better job than Solo's
Hmm.
mom, and has ideas about how to do that, to squeeze off the pipe and seal it and all of that. So, yeah, I mean, maybe this is part of it for me, Ryan, is I was just a little bit frustrated that I just wanted that to go ahead and work
Yeah.
at this point in the
Let's
story,
let's let's do it. Yeah, let's
Let's
do
just
it.
let's just have that happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But given that it
Plus
didn't,
the
I
fact
want to
that
know.
the vitamin D has been released in the water for 2 episodes, and we're not seeing any ramifications of that at this point. Maybe their son is drinking. We don't know, but that's sort of a thing out there that we haven't addressed or hasn't impacted anybody yet. Maybe we'll see that in the next 2 episodes, but that's something that's
Yeah.
happened. I don't know.
I mean, in fairness, I think it's only been at most a day in narrative time, even though it's been a couple weeks for us, a couple
That's true.
episodes for
That's
us.
true. Yeah.
But certainly, that's pressing. And so now they've kind of painted themselves into this narrative corner. How do they get out of this?
Yeah. Exactly.
And I don't know. I mean, the best I could kind of come up with trying to speculate would be, is there any possibility that they get surprise help from Camille or something
Mm.
like this? Because I'm not sure what else it could be at this point.
Yeah. Would Camille ever get to the point where she has the shine has come off of whatever the role is that she's been given, and the algorithm is doing things that she doesn't want? Does she sort of turn code on that? Can't think of who else would be, yeah, who would come to their rescue, as it were. I'm just not sure what that option would be.
Camille's son doesn't recognize her in the morning, and so she decides that
Yeah,
she's going to join forces with Robert and Juliet.
yeah,
I don't know.
maybe, but to your point, even if it has been a day, it's going to take. Juliet had been on the drugs for months, or some form of the drugs for months, and so who knows how they'll make all that
Yeah,
work.
you're right. You're right. Um, because yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe there are other possibilities we're simply not thinking of, and maybe they'll be even more interesting. I mean, I've suggested over the course of this season some thoughts about ways in which things regarding the mines might become more interesting. And I guess I shouldn't drop that thread, even though we've gotten
Yeah.
the resolution to the mystery there about who killed Orla Kent. Short answer, it was the boyfriend. It's always the boyfriend. Why didn't we know it was the boyfriend? Of course it's the boyfriend. If he even was her boyfriend. They
Yeah,
don't
no,
they
I
they they don't even really give that much weight.
no. It's
Honestly.
like a montage with some music on top of it that they just escort them out. They don't even say the name. They just go pick them up and drag them off. And I think, unless I'm missing something, we're still waiting to see how all that connects to what Juliet's team is doing. Do you have anything there?
Yeah, I mean, if it does, that would be interesting. But no, not really. I mean, other than again, some thoughts about, is there any possibility that the mines from this silo have made contact with people in the mines in other silos or something like that?
Yeah. Didn't
Um,
Harwood say he was stashing supplies, or he knew about the stashing of supplies because of the rebellion? He didn't want people to loot stuff, and I mean, that's where some of it's gone, at least.
yeah, so this is where we need to talk about a little bit more. It would seem that Knox's father designed him an elevator or a lift whatever term you
Hmm.
want to use. We should bear in mind, you're not allowed to do that in the silo. They don't have elevators in the silo, and
Right.
at least pulleys were illegal until Billings started revising the pact or whatever.
Yeah,
Prior
yeah.
to the rebellion last season, pulleys were illegal. Why? This is the kind of question I care about more than anything else. It's a weird show like that. Um, but yeah, Harwood says something like you mentioned. Do we buy that? Maybe, I don't know. But they don't really resolve the further question of, oh, okay, so has he just stashed all those supplies somewhere? Can we get him back now? Are we back
Yeah,
to 50
exactly.
years? Even if we are back to 50 years, that's not a lot of time. So, I mean, I feel like if nothing else, this whole storyline has opened up that question that the silo is on a ticking clock.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a
I
big
think that's
problem it's opened up.
I think that's right. And yeah, where that is, how it impacts the timing of the silo. I mean, clearly the Juliet storyline is not a long drawn out, even 2 year event that's going to happen. So how that intersects, I'm very interested to see. It's like, surely this is not a we need, to fill 12 minutes every episode, so we're going to just sort of have this side quest for Billings and hang it. It's got to work somehow.
Well, yeah, so I think that there's two possibilities I have in mind. One, well, actually, I'm really confident in the first one, which is, if nothing else, this has opened up that problem that there's a limited amount of critical supplies,
Yeah,
and they've got enough to survive somewhere between 2 and 50 years. But even if it's 50, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I just turned 46. I don't really think I'm going to be alive for 50 more years, but it's conceivable,
yeah, that's right.
you
That's
know?
right.
So like, and a lot of these characters are younger than that. You know what I mean? It's like even
Yeah,
50 years, that's not like generations down the line. That is, in historical terms, very soon. So I
yeah,
think if nothing else, it's opened up that as a problem, which is likely to define season four in a certain way.
yeah,
The other possibility, which this could be a both and kind of situation, right? Is does this lead in any way toward um, something that connects more directly with the big problem of this season in grappling with the algorithm and the safeguard
yeah.
and like what have they been doing down there in the mines and
And I've
why
just
is
thought
there that
about it.
computer all the way down at the bottom of the silo and is it the same computer as the one in the
Yes,
vault and all that
we've
kind of
got to
stuff.
revisit that at some point. The computer that Lucas has a conversation with, and it also made me think about what we just talked about with a connection with Camille. What if Camille learns that we've got between 2 and 50 years left? It doesn't matter what this algorithm is saying or what it's doing. That we're our time is limited, so that sort of bends her in one direction to take some kind of action if she learned that. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we're going in that kind of direction with Camille. I mean, her character's clearly been conflicted. I think they've done a good job with this, to be
Yeah,
clear. So, if I'm right there and that is what happens, I don't think it makes the show overly predictable or anything like that. Because, she just she doesn't want everyone to die. She
yeah,
also doesn't want her family to lose their memories and everything else. But, like,
that's
what are you
right.
going to do? Um, under this threat of poison being pumped into the silo and killing everyone. You know what I mean? Like, that's a pretty big threat. So we'll see about that. I also say, if we complain at all about it spinning its wheels a bit in this episode, there's some nice character moments. I mean, I don't know, the scenes between Juliet and Bernard, I at least enjoyed.
Hmm.
But then I want to make the same remark even more so about some of the scenes in Silo 17, in particular the one between Patrick and Solo
Absolutely,
when he
absolutely right.
describes the funeral. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, talking about that tradition, the importance of it, why it matters, the simple thing that Jimmy says of no one died until everyone did. I mean, I thought that was
Oof.
always so good. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It got me in the feels. And Murray's like functionally a child. It's cool to see him back in the story and the others there. And curious about where that will go as well. I mean, from what we've gotten in this episode, well, I realize there's another big question here that's worth talking about. But first, just once they're in Silo 17, it's like,
Hmm.
okay, well, they figure out how Jimmy's mom sealed the pipe. I decided, by the way, we should probably start calling him Jimmy because I call him Jimmy in the show now.
Yeah.
Um, and the way that information is relayed to Silo 18, and we care about that story. What are these people going to do beyond that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look, Kennedy didn't want to go. He didn't really want to go to Silo 17 in the first place. He made some kind of
At
deal like,
all.
if I get Lucas there, then I can do whatever I want. Regardless,
Exactly.
they can't really go back to Silo 18.
Not if there are flying drones around there shooting them when they try to go outside.
It's not just that. The algorithm wants them dead anyway.
That's true. Yeah.
It's like if they or and Camille, right? I mean, like if they made it back to Silo 18, we'd be like, all right, now you're going sent out to clean. They can't
Yeah, and
or
it's not
sent
like
out of the
you
mines.
can't just sneak in the back door of the silo. You got to go in through one way. There's not going to be a surprise when you come back.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how Silo 17 maybe starts playing in the story more
Hmm.
again. I mean, look, there's another possibility. Um, maybe they get an idea about what to do in Silo 18 from Jimmy somehow.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a reasonable assumption, and that this is beyond the things that I know anything about or read anything about. The idea that we have a team of people we can communicate with in a silo that, well, maybe some of the we can't do all the experimentation that they've done, or there's not a one for one thing here, but we can at least get information from them that we'd have to really work to uncover here in Silo 18. It was just if we did it ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a library and all of that. He doesn't know how
Exactly.
to fix the radio, but the book does. So yeah, there are possibilities there. I also think, by the way, I might just keep calling him Solo. I don't know. Calling him, I made the shift to calling him Jimmy in my recap, but saying it out loud, I'm probably just gonna end up calling him Solo one way or the other. The way that
Yes.
goes.
Respect how he has self-identified. Yes, he is solo.
Um, but he's both, whatever, Solo or Jimmy. So the other thing, you mentioned the drones. I mean, I guess they're drones, and we have to address this question before we wrap up. What exactly happened here? Because it would seem that some drones showed up and fired bullets. One of them hit Lucas in the shoulder, went through the
Hmm.
radio, but then Lucas and Kennedy played dead and the drones went away.
Yeah, they just decided that was enough, and they were convinced by that. So
And when they returned later, they discovered that the bodies were gone and they let, Camille and the algorithm know.
yeah, it just seems like bad strategy to go at once. Once they're on the ground, we leave. We'll circle back half an hour later and check. But yeah, we're not going to verify. Yeah, not if this is somebody or something or some algorithm controlling these things. If this is like a Skynet situation, yeah, not the best planning.
It does make me wonder if it's all under that kind of AI control.
Hmm.
Because, yeah, I mean, from just a I don't know, rational point of view in the sense of presuming that you want to achieve the goal they want to achieve, and kill them a lot. Make sure they're dead. You know what I mean? Just like,
Kill them. Yeah,
yeah, is make sure they're dead, right? Where maybe somehow, there could be that kind of confidence within the computer program or whatever that, oh, this worked. They appear to be dead now, and that's it. As opposed to I would think at least, if there were some human drone operator behind it, they might be making more sure that this had worked.
yeah. No, that's a great point. Yeah, that it just sort of came, did its thing, leave. That's what it's programmed to do. I mean, it just introduces a whole new concept of, I mean, why were there no drones for Juliet? Why were just we just don't understand
Yeah,
where it's coming from.
this is the best I've got as far as a theory on that front. The plan with the people who are sent out to clean is poison. The plan with Juliet, who was sent out to clean, is poison. When they sent out
Hmm.
Juliet, they didn't know that she had the good tape from
That's right.
Supply, so they thought that the poison was going to work. Um, with Lucas and Kennedy, because of the setup, they know that they're going to have good enough suits So now we're bringing out the guns. Now we're bringing out the drones. I guess I still wonder in the background of that, is it toxic and poisonous outside all the time?
Hmm.
I find myself increasingly think that they pump the poison out during the cleaning sessions, and but I don't really have a lot of evidence for that. But I found myself thinking that. Um, anyway, the drones are new, the bullets are new,
Yeah,
and I don't know how much more I have to say about this other than because it feeds into the same kind of question as with the safeguard.
yeah, that's right.
Why?
That's right.
And that's where what we get in the before times is still not giving me even really a clue to work with,
Yeah,
right? Why are people going to go live in underground silos? Oh, well, to survive the apocalypse and repopulate the earth later. Okay, so far, so, like rational,
yeah,
even if I really respect Helen being like, get out of here, nut jobs. But why are you going to kill everyone when they try to leave? There's a further question there that I'm still just kind of
yeah.
unsure what the
I, I,
answer might be.
I think, at least I anticipate, based on the pace that we're on, that a lot of season four, particularly in Silo 18, is going to focus on the who's in control, what's happening, why is it set up this way, why do we have to the earlier conversation, why do we have a pact? Why just sort of the overarching things like this. I think and anticipate we'll largely get the questions answered from the before times that give us the why. But we have no idea the sort of the who and the why of whenever we are in Silo 18.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're talking about season four, that's going to be the last season of the show. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we could sit here, we can make a pretty definitive list of questions that the show
Yeah.
has to answer by the end of
Yeah.
season four. And you were hitting on some of them for sure, right? And that is where, if nothing else, what we learn through the whole Orla Kent storyline about there being that kind of ticking clock is an important bit of information
Yeah.
because thinking about everything together, again, one possibility is, yeah, it's a 400-year plan, and then you go outside.
Hmm.
I don't really believe that that's the case, though. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Um, and it's like, okay, so we need the safeguard. Why? Because it'd be a problem for people to go outside too soon.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're going to die outside. Why are you going to kill them to keep them from going outside and dying? There has to be something else going on even there. But even if we bought into that, no, it has to be the full 400 years. I don't think that I buy the notion that they're going to get let out in 50 years, even if they make it that far.
Yeah,
So,
just the doors magically open. Yeah, you're right. It's like why that doesn't really compute to what we've learned so far.
right. Well, except that it should, if we were believing the initial plan that we're getting from like Pierce Stenson and Senator
Yeah.
Thurman, right?
Yeah.
So, what else is going on here? And really curious to see how much more we get here in season three. We do have 2 episodes left,
Yep.
so I'm going to
Yep.
hold out hope that meaningful stuff happens here in episode 9. And that is my ideal hope that like a lot of stuff resolves in episode 9 and episode
Mm.
10 as the finale breaks it open. But we'll see, I guess.
Yeah. Very, very curious to see how far we get. I think that we're trying to align some things for the next season, but it for me will largely depend on how far we get in the before times. I'm very curious to see over the next 2 episodes.
Yeah, same. Okay, anything else we need to hit on before we wrap up here today
I think that covers it
on
for
this
me.
sheet? I think we hit on all this stuff. All right, good. Thanks always for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. If so, please do leave a good rating, review, all that good stuff. If you're on YouTube, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Greatly appreciate it. And be sure to check out tvobsessive.com. You can find written work there on any number of TV shows. I am writing recaps on the Silo each week if you want to read my thoughts there. Silo, Ryan's currently writing on Lanterns. We have other people writing on other things. Lots of stuff going on there. Check it out. And if you want to follow the site on social media, search for TV Obsessive on whatever platform you should find us. And as for the podcast, we'll be back with you next week.
All right, we'll see you then.